Lust is one of the most misunderstood human desires. For the majority, it is just attraction, a basic human instinct. But the truth is way more complicated than that. Lust doesn't just simply exist. It is an emotion that evolves and changes shape depending on who you are, how you grew up, and how you see the world. In this video, I will break down the 5 levels of lust, starting from the basic human instinct all the way to the final, most disturbing stage, the one most people don't even realize exists. Every human journey begins with a single thought. The first level of lust is entirely natural, a moment of curiosity. The first time the mind notices something about another person and doesn't know why. It appears mostly in early adolescence, long before someone understands what they are feeling. At this stage, lust is naive and almost harmless. It is not driven by hunger or pride. It is simply biology introducing itself to our lives. Most people forget how innocent this stage truly is. It is not about wanting anything from anybody. It is about trying to understand yourself. Level 1 teaches the brain that there is more to life than what it thought there was. It tells the brain what it finds fascinating and what ignites that first spark of desire. But with time, that innocent feeling grows in directions few people anticipate. Now, here is where lust goes from curiosity to a need. Level 2 gets born from absence, the absence of affection and validation. People who lack these things eventually start using lust as a coping mechanism. That lust fills the space where love should have been. This stage is deeply relatable because it is incredibly common. Most adults have passed through a period of emptiness where lust became a distraction. We all went through those moments where we started craving attention from anyone or lowering our standards just to feel seen. And if you want a real example of that, look no further than the explosion of dating apps among lonely young adults. Studies show that a large portion of users are seeking validation instead of love. They swipe constantly right to temporarily erase the feeling of not being wanted. And this is where lust becomes harmful. Level 2 is the transition from natural instinct to emotional dependency. And once dependency forms, the obsession wakes up.
Porn addiction at the time, specifically related to video pornography, which is what it all is now, right? It was having the same impact on the brain in young men as crack cocaine.
This is the stage where the individual no longer looks for connection or meaning, they look for stimulation alone. Lust becomes the primary source of dopamine, a cycle so constant that life without it feels empty. In level 3, the world changes shape. People you meet are no longer individuals with their own stories and values. They become a potential sex tool for you. Relationships become transactional. Conversations have an underlying motive, and your entire emotional state revolves around the next high. This stage often mirrors the psychological patterns of addiction. The brain becomes conditioned to interpret lust as the fastest route to relief, especially nowadays with the easy access to pornography. So the more it relies on that shortcut, the more fucked up your worldview becomes. Your time and energy, your only source of hope, shifts toward maintaining the obsession. You start telling yourself that you can stop at any moment, but deep down, you know the truth. You no longer control lust. Lust controls you. At this level, lust stops functioning as an addiction and straight up becomes an identity. You no longer interact with the world as a person with desires. You interact with the world through your desires. Lust becomes the lens through which you interpret people and even yourself. In the distortion, moral boundaries start to bend. And in this case, it's not out of malice, but because the brain has normalized the pursuit of stimulation as a core part of identity.
How many relationships would you get into like that?
Oh, tons. Whoever. I mean, it got to the point where it didn't matter. And then it got to the point where it'd be guys. And it got to the point where it'd be grinder. It got to the point where it'd be bathhouses.
Your whole existence at this stage is nothing but a lustful paradox. You no longer care about who you are. All you care for is to satisfy the persona you've created. Every action becomes a performance designed to protect that identity. The way you dress, the way you talk, the way you even look at yourself in the mirror. Think of creators whose whole brand revolves around lust. Their identity depends on being sexual. Without it, they feel irrelevant and invisible. Level 4 isn't about chasing lust for pleasure, not at all. The reason why you chase lust here is so you can avoid disappearing from yourself.
There is some other news we're following tonight. Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein is expected to appear in federal court following new charges related to alleged sex crimes involving minors. Eyewitness News reporter
Now we reach the psychological point where lust becomes inhuman. This is the stage where the mind becomes so overstimulated, so desensitized to ordinary pleasure, that it begins searching for extremes far outside the boundaries of morality. The mind simply can't feel anything normal anymore. At this level, conscience dies, empathy shuts down, the person becomes nothing but a mindless predator, just seeking a new kind of high. They start fantasizing about acts that violate the core of humanity, acts that destroy innocence and destroy lives along the way. We see it as an extreme level of evil, while for these people, they are normal impulses born from years of numbness. And this is when you realize someone's life is over. It is that exact moment where the person looks at something unspeakably immoral and can't help but tell themselves, maybe this will make me feel something. Level 5 represents the final evolution of lust, the decay of what remains of human dignity. It is kind of like crossing a line, but the line you cross doesn't even exist within the human realm.